When the heartbreaking news broke that Diane Keaton had passed away on 11 October 2025, Hollywood fell silent. The world lost not just an actress but an entire chapter of cinematic authenticity, humor, and human depth. She was Unasi, still full of creative fire, still making plans for her next project. Tributes poured in from across the industry. But among all those voices, one message stood out, pure and sincere: Keanu Reeves' heartfelt remembrance of Diane Keaton. His words, simple yet profound, carried the kind of emotional truth that only comes from genuine respect and shared artistic experience. He said softly, "She made every scene feel real." And in those few words, he captured everything Diane Keaton stood for: honesty, vulnerability, and a fearless commitment to truth in art. For over 5 decades, Diane Keaton redefined what it meant to be a woman in Hollywood. Born in 1946, she carried her mother's maiden name into a career that would break every convention. From Annie Hall to the Godfather trilogy, from Baby Boom to Father of the Bride, and later Something's Gotta Give, her filmography reads like a living map of cinema itself. Her presence was more than acting, it was essence. Every movement, every glance, every nervous laugh became part of her character's DNA. People didn't just watch Diane Keaton, they believed her. She never hid behind glamour or pretension. She was always real, sometimes awkward, sometimes brilliant, but always herself. That rare authenticity made her performances timeless, and it's what Keanu Reeves was remembering when he spoke about her. Keanu worked with Diane Keaton in the 2010 romantic comedy Something's Gotta Give, directed by Nancy Meyers. It was one of those films that lingers, warm, witty story about love, aging, and the unexpected tenderness of human connection. Diane played Erica Barry, a strong but vulnerable playwright, while Keanu played her charming younger admirer, Dr. Julian Mercer. For Keanu, the experience of working with Diane was more than just another role. It was a masterclass in artistry. When asked about her passing, Keanu's eyes softened. "She was very nice to me," he said. "A generous artist and a very special, unique person." Those words, quiet, gentle, genuine, tell us everything about the woman Diane was behind the camera. On set, she had this energy, playful yet deeply focused. She could laugh between takes, then immediately sink into an emotional scene with absolute conviction. That was her magic. She could make the camera disappear. Keanu often spoke about watching Diane and Jack Nicholson work together, calling it cool to see because of their shared history and chemistry. To him, it wasn't just acting, it was like witnessing the worlds collide in perfect harmony. Diane didn't just perform her role, she lived it. She gave everything, every ounce of emotion, every tiny flicker of thought. She made every scene feel real. Keanu repeated in his quiet way, as if those words themselves were a small prayer of gratitude. To make a scene feel real, that's the hardest thing in acting. It's not about the lines or the lighting, it's about courage. It's about being willing to show your imperfections, your humanity, your soul. Diane did that every time she stepped on set. She didn't chase perfection, she chased truth. And that's why her performances touched people so deeply. You could feel her heart beating in every frame. She never pretended to be someone she wasn't, and in doing so, she reminded the world that authenticity is more powerful than perfection. Keanu Reeves, known for his quiet humility and emotional intelligence, found in Diane a mirror of his own artistic values. Both actors share a deep respect for sincerity and stillness, that rare ability to communicate more in silence than with words. Watching Diane, Keanu learned how to listen, not just react. He learned that acting isn't about control, it's about surrender, about being present enough to feel. He once said that Diane had this gift: she could make everyone around her better simply by being herself. Her generosity as an artist wasn't about teaching. It was about giving space, making you feel safe enough to explore your own truth in a scene. Behind the camera, Diane was equally inspiring. She wasn't afraid of her quirks, the hats, the laughter, the self-deprecating humor, all of it made her beautifully human. People loved her because she didn't hide her age, her emotions, or her awkwardness. She embraced it all, and that made her ageless. Even in her 70s, she radiated the energy of a young dreamer, curious and unafraid. She had recently sold her beloved dream home, and though she kept her health struggles private, her close friends later shared that she had been quietly dealing with a decline. Her passing came as a shock, even to those who knew her well. She left behind 3 unfinished film projects, a painful reminder that her creative fire was still burning bright till the end. Nancy Meyers, who directed Diane in Something's Gotta Give, called her brilliant and like nobody ever. And Keanu's tribute echoed that feeling, that sense that Diane was one of a kind. In a Hollywood often obsessed with youth and surface beauty, Diane Keaton built a career on truth. She made vulnerability glamorous, intelligence romantic, and aging beautiful. Every role she played felt like a conversation with life itself, full of laughter, heartbreak, curiosity, and hope. She didn't act for applause. She acted to understand the human condition. And that's what Keanu meant when he said she made every scene feel real. She wasn't pretending, she was being. Keanu's tribute matters because it comes from someone who has built his own life around compassion and authenticity. When someone like Keanu Reeves, known for his humility, for riding the subway with fans, for quietly donating millions to crew members, speaks of another artist's kindness, it carries weight. His words were not rehearsed, not polished for publicity. They were spoken from the heart of an actor who had shared sacred creative space with Diane Keaton and came away changed. In his eyes, she wasn't just a legend, she was a mentor in humanity. As the world revisits Diane's movies in grief and admiration, one can't help but feel that she gave us something far beyond entertainment. She gave us permission to be imperfect, to love foolishly, to laugh loudly, to age unapologetically. She showed generations of women that they could be strong and vulnerable at once. And she showed generations of men that tenderness is not weakness, but strength. Her influence reached beyond the screen, into the way people saw themselves, the way they lived, the way they loved. Keanu's words are more than a tribute, they're an invitation. She made every scene feel real. Those words challenge us to make our own lives feel real, to bring the same authenticity, grace, and generosity Diane brought to her art into our daily lives. Whether we are actors or not, her example reminds us to live truthfully, to be present, to give fully, and to love without fear. Because in the end, that's what makes life and cinema meaningful. Diane Keaton's legacy will never fade. It lives in the rhythm of her laughter in Annie Hall, in her teary confession in Something's Gotta Give, in the quiet strength of her presence in The Godfather. It lives in the hearts of those who knew her, and in the millions who felt like they did. As Keanu Reeves said goodbye in his own gentle way, you could feel the weight of shared respect, a moment where one soul recognized another. Diane made every scene feel real, and in doing so, she made life itself a little more beautiful.